Harper Business and Harper Audio present Say It Well. Find your voice, speak your mind, inspire any audience. By Terry Szuplat, White House speechwriter for Barack Obama. Read by Sean Patrick Hopkins. A note before we begin. Don't forget to download the accompanying enhancement PDF from your audiobook provider. It contains writing suggestions and tips, and will be referred to throughout as the enhancement. For Mary, Jack, and Claire. Let me think clearly and brightly. Let me live, love, and say it well in good sentences. Let me someday see who I am. Sylvia Plath. Introduction. The way we talk. I was shaking. It was almost time for me to speak, and I could feel my heart starting to race. I shifted anxiously in my seat, desperately thinking of ways to escape. I don't have to do this. I'll just smile and politely decline. No thanks, not tonight, maybe another time. Disaster averted. Dignity preserved. But it was too late. And now, a voice announced, "Give it up for Terry." Every eye in the room was on me. I started to talk into the microphone, but I sensed my voice trembling. Then I thought about the audience hearing my voice trembling, which only made my voice tremble more. I tried to hold the pages of my speech steady, but my hands were shaking. I thought about the audience seeing my hands shaking, which only made them shake more. For a moment, I felt like I was out of my body, floating above, looking down on myself as I stammered and quivered. My mouth was moving, but the only sound I heard was the voice of doubt in my head. They can see that you're nervous. You're going to screw up and embarrass yourself. Please, just let this be over. The way I was stressing out, you'd think I was delivering a major address to a huge audience. Far from it. I was in a karaoke bar with my coworkers, fellow staffers at the White House, where I was a speechwriter for President Barack Obama. We were on a work trip in Yokohama, Japan, and after a week of grueling international travel, we'd gone out for the night to unwind. I knew the audience. They were my friends. I spoke from my seat and didn't even have to stand up. In fact, I wasn't even delivering a speech or doing karaoke at all. It was a silly little skit I'd written about Obama and other world leaders scrambling to pull the world economy out of a ditch like a wrecked car. A fun parody of a story Obama loved to tell back home on the campaign trail. In other words, it was no big deal. It didn't matter whether I nailed it or flopped, which made my nerves all the more frustrating. Why was this happening? In my gut, I knew. Even though I've been a professional speechwriter for nearly my entire adult life, for most of that time, I'd been uncomfortable with public speaking myself. I was a speech writer who couldn't seem to hack it as a speech giver. It's not like I avoided public speaking altogether. I could usually handle talking to a small group or giving a eulogy at a family funeral, and sometimes I wasn't half bad. Most of the time, though, just the idea of speaking in front of a group of people left me racked with anxiety. So, for most of my life, I largely stayed where I felt safe, behind the scenes, writing speeches for others. But I paid a price. I spent so many years helping President Obama and other leaders speak in their voice that, over time, I lost my own. I coached speakers on how to tell their stories, but the idea of sharing mine could be nauseating. I was able to draft remarks for Obama, who even his critics agree is one of the world's great speakers, but I struggled with a meaningless skit. Somehow, I made it through that night at the bar, though it's mostly a blur. My coworkers laughed and applauded, but walking back to our hotel through the empty...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?